So that's our form now. So if we write here Sanad in the last name, we can ignore it. We can write Ashken and Bugoyno as a city where I live. So that's it. If we remove it, we go to preview state. If we focus on it, we'll go to this floating label state. So hello everybody. Today I'm gonna show you how to create floating labels inside HTML CSS4 using just HTML and CSS. For this project we need just the code editor for HTML and CSS and a browser. So I'm gonna use Visual Studio Code and Microsoft Edge browser for this to display it. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new folder called floating labels. I'm gonna start my editor with okay. And I'm gonna create the file index.html for our HTML. Gonna fill it with the standard HTML5 code. Yes, gonna resize it here. This is my browser. Okay, already resized so we can see the changes automatically once we do it and save our file. Yes, in order to see the changes, we need to just go live with it. This is the plugin for Visual Studio Code that will detect refresh of our save or changes of our documents and will reload the page automatically. Yes, it's here, so you can see the title is document. If we change it to floating labels, it will change it automatically. So we can see the changes right now as we do it. Okay, now I'm gonna create just a simple HTML CSS file, call it floating labels.css. Gonna just write something so we can see that the file is linked properly. Okay, so everything works as expected. We can delete it now. So for this project we need the form, obviously. We need some div that will contain our elements. We need an input field, for example simple text editing field. We will gonna name it first name, and there it is. So we're gonna add a label for it. This attribute for first name will tell, once the label is clicked, it will focus the field inside the form that has ID first name. So if we click it, it will focus the input field reserved for it. For this project to work, we need to put the label of the field below it, because that's the only way we can select it through CSS. So there is no way we can write something input label like before it or something. We can just say when state changes of this input field, we want to apply this CSS to a label that comes after it. So we cannot say that comes before it, only after it. So we need to put it here below it. So we have it now. Now we are gonna just style this a bit. We have a div. We're gonna say, wait a second. We have a div inside the form. This sign represents a direct descendant of the form with the type div. So only divs that are direct descendants of the form will have this CSS. So we say its width is 100%, height is 40 px. Now we don't see anything, but if we add border to it, Now we see it. We can also radius it 5px so we can mimic the look of the field. Okay, so we have it now. Now we are gonna style the field inside it. Input. So we can say that its width is 100%. Its height is also 40 pixels, so it can match the height of the field. But now we have a problem because it's overlapping the container. In HTML, by default, it will calculate the width of the element, then it will add the borders to it, then it will add so something, for example, with the width of with the height of 40px will have its height, then plus border size, plus padding, and we can disable it by saying that every element on the page, its box sizing will be border box, so it will be border to border. No matter what you do inside it, it will be border to border. So now it's exactly the width and height of the container element that it has. So what do we need to do now? We can also set the height to 100%, but we will keep it for now. We will also say that we will change the font. I don't like this font. Okay, much beautiful. So what we need to do, we need to put our label here. So we need to set its position to be absolute, so we can float to wherever we want. So if we say form there and all labels inside it, we can say position absolute. Okay, so we can say that if we save it, it will go right after this element because we didn't set the position for it. If we say its top is 0px and left is 0px, we will see that it will go absolute position to the body element because we didn't set to its container that its position relative. If we say the position of this container is relative, then all elements inside it will position itself relative to the container. So now it's a 0, 0 position of the container, but we need to move it a bit. We can say that the line height is 40px, so it will go to the middle, and we can say that the left is 10px, so it looks nicer, so it can look nicer. Okay, so what do we need to do now? We need to just transform it to uppercase. Okay, you can do whatever you want. I'm just changing this stuff. This is not relevant. This uppercase is not relevant to the project, but it's much nicer to read when it's smaller. So what do we need to do now? We need to once the field is focused, we're gonna move our label to up. I'm gonna just disable autocomplete so we don't have it. Okay, so we need to move it up. So we can say form there and input, and once it's focused and the field is focused, we can say label after it, set it line height to, for example, 10px here, and font size to be 10px, and we can say color to be blue, and it should be bolded. Okay, so once we focus this field, this one will move up. Okay, we can set next. Okay, so it will go there. You see how we don't have the cursor, proper cursor for the field when we are over label, so we can disable it, like pointer events. We set it to none, so it will not it will ignore the label here. You see now, okay. But this is too fast, moving too fast, so we can set also that all transition will last for 0.15 seconds. So once we click it, it will animate its position and size change. You see now how it's moved. Now what we need to do is set to the input padding left to be 10 px, so the text starts right where the label is. Okay, it's not right, but padding left 10 px doesn't matter now. Okay, we got the label to position. Oh, we need to set to 10 px. Okay. The next problem we have is once we write anything here, we move out, the label returns to previous state. So we need to detect the state input field is in. For example, I'm gonna create another field just for this test. If we say input type text, and we don't have anything in it. So how do we say what needs to be inside it? We can use a placeholder. This is a attribute of the field where we can say, for example, last name. So user knows that they need to write last name in it. So the state is now placeholder is visible. Once we click inside it, it's still visible. It's still visible. So once we start typing, it will hide the placeholder. You see. So we need to detect that state. So we can say that we have a field, and when the placeholder is visible, put our label inside this state, that it's visible and it's at the middle of the field. But once there is something written in it, placeholder is hidden, we can move our label up to the top. So there is a selector for it. You can see this form, have input. We can say placeholder shown. We can say label after it will have color red, for example. So if the placeholder is visible, our label will be red. So we don't have a placeholder here, but we will say placeholder. You see, placeholder is visible, our label is red. It's still red, but if we write something, it will be blue. So we already have the state, but we need state when the placeholder is hidden, so it will keep our label at the top. So we need to just invert this to the not function of CSS. So our label now will be red when the placeholder not shown, black when it's shown. So we need to just hide the placeholder because we see the letters behind it. We will just put a simple space here. So that's it. Okay, now we just need to say this CSS also needs to be applied to the label of the field where placeholder is not visible. So when we say Senad, it will stay there. If we delete it and move away, it will move our label to the center of the field. So we get that sense like it's floating. Yes. So I'm gonna delete this one. Gonna put just more fields. So last name, city, okay. So I'm gonna just create some margin between them. and also I'm gonna hide everything that's going out of the container. Okay, also the fields still have some border. Okay, we need to also disable the response field. Say when it's focus, its order should be 0px. Outline. Okay, that's it. So that's our form now. So if we write here Sanad in the last name, we can ignore it. We can write Ashkin and Bugoino as a city URL. So that's it. If we remove it, we go to preview state. If we focus on it, we'll go to this floating label state. So that's it. The thing I can do also just add some header to this. That's it. Now we have a nice form. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you learned something. And if you like it on YouTube, wherever you see it. So bye bye.